Across the Middle East, a conflict is unfolding mostly in the shadows. It rarely begins with a declaration of war. There are no official battlefronts, and the actors involved often deny responsibility. Yet its consequences shape the politics, alliances, and security of an entire region. This is the hidden struggle between two powerful rivals, Israel and Iran. For decades, the two nations have been locked in what analysts describe as a shadow war, a complex confrontation fought through intelligence operations, proxy groups, cyber warfare, and covert military strikes. Unlike conventional wars, this conflict rarely erupts into direct large-scale battles between the two countries. Instead, it spreads quietly across multiple battlefields: Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, cyberspace, and the secret world of espionage. At the center of this struggle are powerful non-state actors such as Hezbollah and Hamas. Together, these forces form part of a broader geopolitical chess game that influences global diplomacy, military alliances, and the future stability of the Middle East. To understand how this shadow war began and why it continues today, we must first go back several decades. Today, the idea of cooperation between Israel and Iran may seem almost impossible. Yet before 1979, the two countries were not enemies. In fact, they maintained quiet diplomatic and economic relations. Under the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Iran was one of the few Muslim-majority nations willing to maintain ties with Israel. Both governments shared common strategic concerns. They viewed Arab nationalist movements and Soviet influence as major threats. As a result, cooperation emerged in several areas: military intelligence, trade, energy partnerships. Iran supplied oil to Israel, while Israel provided agricultural technology and military expertise. Though the relationship remained discreet, it was an example of pragmatic diplomacy in a complicated region. But everything changed in 1979. The turning point came with the Iranian Revolution. In 1979, mass protests erupted across Iran against the rule of the Shah. The monarchy collapsed, and a new government emerged under the leadership of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. The new regime transformed Iran into an Islamic republic, reshaping its political ideology and foreign policy. One of the central pillars of this new ideology was strong opposition to Israel. The revolutionary government declared Israel an illegitimate state and positioned itself as a supporter of Palestinian resistance movements. Diplomatic ties were severed. The Israeli embassy in Tehran was handed over to Palestinian representatives. From that moment forward, relations between Israel and Iran shifted from quiet cooperation to deep hostility. But rather than engaging in direct military conflict, the confrontation evolved into something more indirect. A shadow war had begun. Direct warfare between powerful states carries enormous risks. Instead, both sides began projecting influence through regional allies and proxy groups. One of the most significant developments occurred in Lebanon during the early 1980s. Following regional instability and civil war, a new militant organization emerged: Hezbollah. Hezbollah was formed with strong ideological and logistical support from Iran. Over time, the group developed into a powerful military and political force within Lebanon. For Israel, Hezbollah represented a direct security threat along its northern border. The group possessed thousands of rockets capable of reaching Israeli territory. For Iran, however, Hezbollah became a key strategic ally. It allowed Tehran to exert influence in the eastern Mediterranean without deploying its own military forces. Another important proxy relationship emerged with Hamas, particularly in the Gaza Strip. Though Hamas has its own political agenda, Iran has provided varying levels of financial and military support over the years. These relationships allowed Iran to challenge Israel indirectly, while Israel sought ways to counter the expanding network of Iranian influence. The result was a series of localized conflicts that formed part of the broader shadow war. One of the most important arenas of this conflict lies in Syria, The civil war that erupted in Syria in 2011 created a power vacuum across large parts of the country. Iran moved quickly to support the Syrian government. Through military advisors, militias, and logistical support, Tehran strengthened its presence in the region. This development raised serious concerns for Israel. Israeli leaders feared that Iranian forces and allied militias might establish permanent military infrastructure near Israel's borders. In response, Israel launched numerous airstrikes targeting Iranian military positions inside Syria. These operations aimed to prevent the transfer of advanced weapons to Hezbollah and to limit Iran's strategic expansion. While these strikes rarely triggered direct retaliation from Iran, they became a recurring feature of the shadow conflict. Beyond conventional military actions lies another dimension of the conflict, the world of intelligence. Israel is widely known for its sophisticated intelligence agency, Mossad. Over the years, Mossad has reportedly carried out numerous covert operations targeting Iranian military and nuclear infrastructure. These operations have included espionage, sabotage, and high-profile intelligence missions. One widely reported incident involved the alleged extraction of thousands of secret nuclear documents from a warehouse in Tehran. The operation demonstrated the depth of the intelligence struggle between the two nations. Iran also maintains powerful intelligence services and regional networks, contributing to the ongoing covert competition. In the world of espionage, victories are rarely publicly confirmed, but intelligence operations remain a central pillar of the shadow war. In the modern era, conflict is not limited to physical battlefields. Cyberspace has become a new arena of geopolitical competition. One of the most famous cyber incidents linked to the Iran-Israel rivalry involved a sophisticated computer virus known as Stuxnet. Discovered in 2010, Stuxnet targeted industrial control systems used in Iran's nuclear facilities. The malware caused physical damage to centrifuges used for uranium enrichment, though the exact origin of the attack remains officially unconfirmed. Many cybersecurity experts believe it was developed as part of a joint operation involving Israeli and Western intelligence agencies. Stuxnet marked a historic moment. It demonstrated that cyber weapons could produce real-world physical destruction. Since then, cyber operations have become a regular feature of the shadow conflict between Iran and Israel. At the center of Israel's security concerns lies Iran's nuclear program. Iran insists that its nuclear activities are intended for peaceful purposes, including energy production and scientific research. However, Israeli officials argue that the program could eventually lead to the development of nuclear weapons. This concern has shaped Israeli strategic policy for years. Diplomatic efforts have attempted to address the issue. In 2015, an international agreement known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was signed between Iran and several world powers. The agreement placed restrictions on Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. Supporters viewed the deal as a way to prevent nuclear proliferation. Critics argued that it did not go far enough. The debate over Iran's nuclear ambitions remains one of the most sensitive geopolitical issues in the Middle East. Supporters viewed the deal as a way to prevent nuclear proliferation. Critics argued that it did not go far enough. The debate over Iran's nuclear ambitions remains one of the most sensitive geopolitical issues in the Middle East. The Iran-Israel rivalry is also influenced by the involvement of major global powers. The United States has long been one of Israel's closest allies. Military cooperation, intelligence sharing, and diplomatic support form key pillars of this relationship. At the same time, Iran maintains strategic partnerships with other global actors, including Russia. Russia's involvement in Syria, particularly during the Syrian civil war, introduced another layer of geopolitical complexity. While Russia maintains relations with both Israel and Iran, it has occasionally played a balancing role between competing interests in the region. These global dynamics demonstrate that the shadow war is not simply a bilateral conflict. It is part of a larger geopolitical puzzle. Despite decades of hostility, both Israel and Iran appear cautious about entering a direct full-scale war. Such a conflict could destabilize the entire Middle East and draw in multiple global powers. Instead, the pattern of confrontation continues through indirect means: covert strikes, proxy engagements, cyber operations, and intelligence campaigns. Each side seeks to limit the strategic advantages of the other without triggering a broader regional war. This delicate balance is one reason why analysts describe the conflict as a shadow war rather than a conventional one. In recent years, tensions have occasionally intensified. Military incidents in Syria, rocket attacks from proxy groups, and cyber operations have increased the risk of escalation. At the same time, diplomatic initiatives and shifting alliances in the Middle East continue to reshape the strategic landscape. New regional partnerships, economic interests, and security concerns influence how governments approach the Iran-Israel rivalry. For the millions of people living across the region, the shadow war represents an ongoing source of uncertainty. For the millions of people living across the region, the shadow war represents an ongoing source of uncertainty. The shadow war between Israel and Iran rarely dominates daily headlines. It often unfolds quietly through intelligence reports, cyber incidents, and isolated military strikes. Yet its impact reaches far beyond the battlefield. It influences regional alliances, it shapes diplomatic negotiations, and it affects the strategic decisions of global powers. For decades, the rivalry between Israel and Iran has remained one of the most complex geopolitical confrontations in modern history. Whether the future holds escalation, diplomacy, or continued covert rivalry remains uncertain. But one fact is clear: this shadow war continues to reshape the political landscape of the Middle East, and its consequences may be felt for generations to come.